I have gotten a couple of questions about Twitter before. Like, do I have a Twitter? Will I have a Twitter? It's interesting because I think a significant number of people don't acknowledge what they or anyone provide to those services. They don't have content in themselves. There's this idea called prosumption. It's a combination of production and consumption. Consumption, we're all familiar with. Very simply, consumption is buying something, and production is providing value. Basically, doing work is production, whether that's service work, or if it's making a good, or if it's assembling a good. That's production. There were certain companies who realized that you could blur the line between what people buy and how much people work. The classic example of this, the IKEA cabinet. So an IKEA cabinet, rather than buying the cabinet pre-assembled, or rather than hiring someone to construct the cabinet for you, they've actually passed off that portion of the labor directly onto you. And that saves a significant amount of labor costs for IKEA. Another classic example is McDonald's and fast food restaurants. In times gone by, you would have someone come by and actually bus your table. You could leave your tray there, all your wrappers, and somebody was paid money to clean the table for you. Eventually, McDonald's realized that if you don't have anyone to bus the table, people will feel bad about just leaving garbage everywhere. You can get people to do the work of someone who was previously employed by your corporation for free, no additional charge. You don't need to take the price of your product down. All you have to do is exploit a little bit of social psychology. A more modern example comes in the form of the supermarket self-checkout. I'm sure you have heard that these self-checkout machines are taking jobs away that would be previously filled by actual people who will now just be unemployed. You know, if you have 6 self-checkout lanes and then like one person looking over them, that's a lot better than 6 to 8 checkout lanes with an actual worker there that you have to pay hourly. It's way cheaper. You don't even have to, again, reduce the prices of your products. So, this concept of prosumption, it applies to supermarket self-checkouts, it applies to IKEA cabinets, it applies to McDonald's trays, and it also applies to social media websites. Without people actually posting the content on these websites, there's nothing there. It's just like blank blue web page or blank orange red web page. So most people don't think about social media in that way, especially when they post. Maybe content creators think of it more in this way. I'm not sure, but based on some of the stuff that I've heard content creators talk about, it seems like they also don't necessarily view it this way. But you are providing nearly the only thing of value to the platform. It's like a self-checkout or an IKEA cabinet, but instead of building your own cabinet, you're building your own movie or your own little story, giving it to other people for free, and then generally most of that profit is siphoned off by whatever like publishing platform, social media platform you decide to post it on. Genuinely, I think Twitter might be on its way out. But in terms of producing, even things like comments counts towards the overall feeling of like a sense of community on a website or a sense of value being provided to the consumer of that content. If your replies and your comments are entirely filled with like people fighting with bots, bots fighting with bots, then that's not providing nearly as much value as it used to. So yeah, it's just a simple calculation of how important is it that I do or don't create a space for myself on that platform. Like, I don't know, I think a lot of quote unquote content creators or quote unquote influencers view themselves as self-employed or working for themselves, which is kind of true, but it's almost more like you're a contractor, because it's not like people are buying things from you. People are coming to YouTube for the content. YouTube is making the money, and then they're giving a portion of it to you, rather than you just getting money for your content.